So honestly, I don't entirely remember how I got into cars. It just kind of happened because my dad's a car guy. I just kind of got it from him, and we've always been like a family of Ford people. For us, it's kind of just Mustangs and GT40s, the racing pedigree that Ford has, and that's the stuff that we're interested in. And we kind of just apply it to all the models too. It's just cool. Like we have an F100 that we want to make it kind of a race truck, or like the cool shop truck that for a race shop or something like that. So we try to incorporate racing into all of it. It's just neat, and they have such a deep history with racing and success on the track, and they just keep coming back, and they're still doing it with the new Mustang GT3 series and the Ford GTs that they've been doing recently. And it's just cool that they're keeping with it and still trying to battle. Yeah, we're just a Ford family. We all love Mustangs. My cousins are that way too, and it's just it's fun, it's cool, it's neat. I think it kind of all started with my granddad. He's always kind of just had an interest in Mustangs, always appreciated them for what they were. And that translated down to my dad, which translated down to me. But my dad, he would collect, various Mustangs over the years. Got the blue 67 fastback and the 66 Coupe, which was my granddad's airport car. He was a pilot for Eastern Airlines, which was pretty cool. And so he would take that to Atlanta Airport and commute back and forth, and it still got some of the airport tags on it, layers of stickers on there. My dad's fastback still has like his college parking stickers on it, which is pretty neat. Kind of makes it a little bit of a time capsule for him. And then we got the white 65 fastback, and that's a cool car in and of itself. It's in really good condition for what it is, but it needs the most work at the moment. It's still sitting while the other two cars are now running. Yeah, so when I was going to look for my first car, I remember asking my dad, I was like, do you care if I get an older car for my first car? And he's like, no, I don't really mind, new or old's fine with me. So this is ultimately what we landed on. We looked at so many Mustangs, one other Cougar, and then we ended up on this one, and it ended up being down in Chattanooga, or just south of Chattanooga, and we went to look at it. It was $3,100 at the time. It was sitting on some Mach 1 wheels in the ad. It was looking kind of scuzzy. And we were like, all right, we'll go check it out. We'd kind of missed out on a few other really good deals. So we went and looked at it, and we came to a price that we all agreed on. Brought it home. I kind of just sat on it for a while, let it be a secret. Didn't tell my friends about it for a few days. And then finally they pulled it out of me and told them about it. It took a while, probably like a few months before I could even drive it to school. And that was such an awesome moment when I could and show them that that's what I was gonna daily. It was so neat, and Dad and I put a lot of work into it, and I learned so much on this car that I'm so thankful I started with an old car, because if I didn't, I wouldn't know a lot of what I know as far as mechanical ability and all that kind of stuff, and how to work on cars, how to work on airplanes. A lot of it interchanges, and this kind of really set forth a career path for me, more or less, because I became an airplane mechanic afterwards. But that's just another part of the story. But it all connects, and it's really cool. And the Cougar has been a really fun car to daily driving the Mercury Cougar. It's a lot of fun. It's really neat. When I first started driving, of course, you get the waves. If you're cruising in the summertime with the windows down, people, be like, what year is it? And all that kind of stuff. And it's cool. It's fun. You go to gas stations like everybody talks about, and the old men will come flocking to you. No ladies come to you. Yeah, it's a lot of old dudes coming to you, and they will ask you what year it is. They'll ask you what motor's in it. And they'll tell you that they had one way back when, which is all really neat stuff. The Cougar's kind of unique from the Mustang in that a lot of people don't seem to know what it is. Definitely the younger crowd. Well, even some older guys have mistakenly called it something else, but a lot of times I'll get people saying, man, that's a nice Mustang, or what kind of Mopar is that? But nobody seems to know what it is, and that's kind of one of the cool parts of it. And I've developed a deep appreciation for cars that are uncommon, because they're neat. Nobody knows what it is, and there's usually a story associated with cars like that, and that's what I'm interested in. There's just so many interesting people involved in it that make that story happen. So that's what gets to me every time. So one of my other hobbies that kind of ties into cars, and it's just another family thing. We're a Ford family, but we're also an aviation family. We've been in the cars, we've been in the airplanes for all my life, and kind of just grew up on an airstrip around, the old guys with old airplanes, World War II stuff, and that's what I've always been interested in. My dad, instead of reading, like a good night story before bed, My dad, would give me these warbird books, and I asked mom to read them to me or something. I'd learn about Messerschmitts or something every night. So that's what I'm into airplane-wise, and I'm still into it to this day. I get my hands dirty, I get involved working on warbirds here and there. We have a local organization, the Automotive Air Force. They've got a S&J I've been very involved in, doing an engine change on it. For the longest time, I knew I wanted to be a pilot, and I'm doing that as a career now, but my backup plan was to be an aircraft mechanic. So I went and, got all my certification for that. And I worked on aircraft for probably apprenticed for 3 or 4 years, and then was an actual mechanic full-time for 2 years, I believe. And I loved it. Working on, 60s airplanes on up to, current day, you see a lot of relation between aircraft and race cars and how they're constructed, the materials used, the processes used to manufacture them. And it's just really cool to see the correlation between the two. And in aviation, there's so many people that are also interested in cars, which is really neat. Like my next door neighbor, Tony, we're both, we're 2 peas in a pod. We both love cars. He's a Nissan guy, I'm a Ford guy, but, and it's a family, and it's cool. And like his dad's airplane, it hasn't flown in years, but one of my goals the next few years is to try and get that thing flying as well, get it back in the air. And I think working on airplanes has given me a newfound appreciation for craftsmanship and doing things to a very fine detail, whereas before I wasn't as in tune with that. Because with an airplane, you can't pull over in the sky. Everything's got to be just right. It's got to be clean. It's got to be perfect. And I'm starting to incorporate more and more of that into my car, into the things I build, and it's just made me a stronger person all around. And I feel like it's giving me a lot more attention to detail. And so hopefully in the future, my builds will be better and better and better, but just got to give it time, work on it, and go for it. All right, so Boolers, that's a question I get a lot. What is it? And it's kind of its own unique thing. It kind of varies from person to person what they would define it as being, but for me, it's ultimately just hanging with the boys, drinking brews in the garage, working on our cars and stuff like that. But we're ultimately pushing each other to do better, to learn more. We're not just a bolt-on crew. We don't just want to do bolt-on mods. We want to build our stuff, we want a unique ride at the end of the day. And we just want to keep, pushing each other to learn and just be better, not just as mechanics, but as friends and people. And that's just kind of what we push for. Boolers is just its own unique culture. We're just weird and unique. Love racing, cars, all of it. It's just cool.